What's up guys, Ellen here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build the Brutalist Jr guitar pedal from the guitar pedal kit from God City Instruments and Small Bear Electronics. I'm going to be showing you all of the different tools that you need to build it, all the components that come in the kit, and then how to build it. There are links to all of the tools that you need, the components, and then the actual guitar pedal kit itself in the bio. So if you're going to build this, definitely go check those out. Get the kit, get the components, make sure you have all the tools, and if you don't, then get the tools because you're going to need them for this guitar pedal. But it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really cool to see the inside of the guitar pedal and see how it really works. I think it's really interesting, and I hope you will too. And yeah, let's go. Okay, so here is me building the actual guitar pedal. So here I have my circuit board, and I'm first going to put in my diodes. So at first they are straight, but I'm going to bend the wires back at kind of like a 90-degree angle, so they're kind of going to look like rectangles with one of the short sides missing. And then just put them in their spots, bend the wires back again to kind of make them like straight again, and then that's going to keep them in the circuit board. And then to solder them in, I'm just going to trim the wire maybe like 1/10 of an inch, one of the wires. I'm going to straighten one of the wires and then trim it about like 1/10 of an inch away from the circuit board. And then just put the soldering iron, which is already heated up, on one side of the trimmed wire and then the solder on the other, and then just kind of tap the iron and the solder together. And then you're also going to want a little moist sponge to wipe off the extra solder from your soldering iron. And I'm just going to do that with the rest of the diodes. Diodes are also polarized, so they have a little line on them, and that line on them is going to match up to a line on the circuit board in the spots that they're supposed to go into. So that's very important. The spots that they go into is very important, and then make sure you put them in the right spots, and then the configuration of them is also important. So here are my resistors, and also the way that you know where your components go is that on the little baggies that they come in, they have little letters and numbers on them, and there's also letters and numbers on the circuit board. So you're just going to correspond the letters and numbers on the bags to the letters and numbers on the circuit board, and then put your components there. So for example, I have R3 on as one of my resistors, and then I find R3 on the circuit board, and then just put the resistor into the circuit board in that spot, and then just do the same thing, trim and solder, straighten, trim, solder. And yeah, so I'm just going to do that for the rest of my resistors. Resistors are also non-polarized, so it doesn't matter the configuration of them as long as the spots they go into are correct. So as you can see here, I am missing 2 of the resistors, one right by my thumb there, and then to the left of my pointer finger. I think they just forgot to send me 2 of them. Luckily they're the same type of resistor, so I just looked at the catalog to see which spots I was missing them in, and then see which type of resistor corresponds to those, and then I just ordered them off of Amazon. They usually come in like packs of 100. If you can find like packs of 30, that's the best that you can get probably. But they're pretty inexpensive, so like worst case scenario, you just end up with like 90 extra resistors or something like that. So you will see me solder the resistors that I ordered just off Amazon later in the video. So there I have all my resistors, and then next what I'm going to solder in is those are the ceramic disc capacitors, but I'm not going to solder in those quite yet. I'm going to solder in my IC socket A pin. So also, I think they were supposed to send me 2, but I only got 1, so I just ordered that off of Amazon. As well, you'll see me that solder that in to the circuit board later in the video. So I just used the screwdriver to kind of prop up the circuit board because that piece is taller than all your other pieces at this point. So it's going to need, the circuit board's going to kind of need some leveling out. And then you're just going to put in the 8-pronged second piece into the 8 holes on the main part. So here are our ceramic disc capacitors. These are non-polarized, so it doesn't matter which way they go into their spots. And then also, here is a good example of 2 capacitors or 2 components that came in one bag. So that means that they are the same type of component if multiple components come in one bag, and the groups of letters and numbers on them, it doesn't matter which spots they go into that are labeled on the bag. Just make sure that, for example, the 2 capacitors go into the 2 spots on the back. You can also tell when something is polarized when there is a shorter wire and then a longer wire on it, or it has like a little positive sign or a negative sign on the component itself, or on the spot where it's supposed to go. So next I'm going to solder in my electrolytic radial capacitors. So these are polarized, so they have a longer and a shorter wire. And on the spots, they also have like a little negative sign on the main part of it that lets you know that's the negative part. So the shorter wire is your negative wire, the longer wire is your positive wire. And then on the spot that they go, the 2 holes that they go into, one of the holes has a little positive sign next to it, like a little plus sign, and that's where your longer wire or your positive wire is going to go into. Your negative wire is just going to go into the hole that has no labeling. And then also with like just some little like knowledge for if you ever do a pedal again, or you have for some like kind of electronics, the shorter wire on a component is usually basically always negative wire, and then the longer wire is basically always the positive wire. So here we have our polyfilm capacitors, these yellow things. These are non-polarized, so the configuration of them and their spots doesn't matter. And it's the same process of soldering for all of the components that go in the circuit board, just bend, straighten, and then cut, and then solder. That's how I like to solder anyway. You can also solder before cutting, but then it's like, you have to kind of like maneuver around the straightened wire, and I just like to cut it before I solder. So there we have most of our components for our circuit board. So here we have our potentiometers, and I'm just going to label them volume or loudness, which is L, volume, which is V, and then distortion, which is D. So these just allow you to adjust your levels, and yeah, so this is also on your potentiometers. They have like a little metal tab on them that you just want to use your pliers to just kind of like yank off. I'm not really quite sure why they have the tabs on them, but you just want to rip them off. So here I'm just going to design my pedal. You don't have to design your pedal, but I think it's cool to just like personalize it, and it's fun to design it, I think. And just some tips. You can use like just Sharpies and stuff on the just silver. You can use regular Sharpies, you can use metallic Sharpies. Paint pens are like the best to use, but they are pretty expensive, so you can just use like Sharpies. But if you can also like spray paint it and make like a stencil and do like a spray painted stencil. But if you do spray paint the entire thing a dark color like navy or black or something, then you have to use metallic Sharpies or like metallic Sharpies. Paint pens will work. Any color paint pen will work. But you have to use like metallic Sharpies or something if you spray paint the entire pedal a dark color. I have learned my lesson the hard way for that. So if you spray paint it a dark color, just make sure you have metallic Sharpies. But if you just leave the silver like I did, you can just, use regular Sharpies. And then I took inspiration for my design from the Big Muff pedal that Jack White used, because like the sound of it, I thought kind of like the tests that I heard and stuff before I designed it kind of gave like Big Muff sounding kind of vibes. I'm really into like distortion pedals and stuff, so you know, I thought it'd be cool to do some kind of heavy, rocky, grungy kind of look to it, I think. I don't know. But yeah, it kind of sounds like a Big Muff. It's really cool though. It's like pretty distorted. You'll see the test later in the video. It sounds so good. But yeah, I mean, I love distortion pedals. So here I tried to do some kind of like flower designs. They didn't really like work out. I think they just kind of looked kind of awkward. But I just ended up just like dipping my thumb in like a little bit of water and just using my thumbnail to just kind of like scratch it off. So if you make a mistake and you're just using like Sharpie or paint pen or something on the silver of the pedal, you can just like use your thumb to scratch it off. So next I'm going to put my potentiometer, I'm just going to put my potentiometers in there. So distortion on the left, loudness in the middle, and volume on the right. And then I'm just going to measure out my wires. So my black wire, which is going to represent my positive side of my LED. So your LED is polarized. And then my red wire is going to represent the negative side of my LED, or be connected to the negative side. And so the black one, you just want your positive wire. It doesn't matter really the colors. You want to be about 7 inches, your red one about 2.5 inches. And so you can just use wire strippers, strip about 1/4 inch of exposed wires. And this is how you use just like small scissors or something. You open the scissors and then you put the wire into the scissors, and then you twist the wire in the scissors, and then you just kind of like use your fingers to pull off the rubber and expose the wire. So you only want like around 1/4 inch of exposed wire on there. And so next, just make sure that you're going to cut the LED wires. Make sure that you know which one is negative and positive. You can like cut them a little bit different lengths if you want, to make sure that you don't accidentally put the red one on the positive or something. But yeah, so just make sure that you get the wiring right, because there is no going back once you cut the LED wires. So it's my hair a little bit. You can just leave them kind of like straight and loose for now. So next what I'm going to do is I am going to now secure my potentiometers into my pedal. So I'm just going to put the potentiometers through the holes, and then use those are called bolts, like nuts and bolts, right? I think, or no, washers and bolts. Washers and bolts? Anyway, that's what I'm going to call them. Just use your needle nose pliers to tighten the potentiometers onto the pedal and make sure that they are secure. Here we have our power input. I could not get the little bolt off. I don't know, so I had my dad help me with that because he has strong hands, unlike me. So yeah, if you don't have very strong hands, make sure you get someone with strong hands to help you take the little bolt off of the power input, because it is like weirdly hard to take off. So this is the IC socket 8-pin that we were missing. Oh, and I don't know, I think I forgot to tell you this when you put the other IC socket 8-pin in. There was a little half circle indentation on the 8-pin, that piece that you solder in, and then there's a little half circle line on the spot where you solder it in, and so make sure that that indentation and the line match up. That is very important, because this does have like a way that it goes into the circuit board. Then here I'm just using like some Sharpies and stuff to just like help prop it up, because also at this point some of the other components are a little bit taller than it, so it'll just fall right through if you don't have something used to prop it up. And then there I'm just like chiseling a little bit of solder that kind of escapes the little silver ring. You just gently kind of scratch it off. So now I'm going to insert my on and off switch. So there's like a little groove or like an indentation in the threading of the on and off switch on one side. So make sure that that groove is facing the potentiometers. That's very important. So that there's like just like a little line, like a little groove line in the threading of it. Make sure that is facing towards the potentiometers. Super, super important. So then, you know, you just use your washers and bolts, I think they're bolts, to, you know, screw to secure this on and off switch in. This also you want to be pretty tight on there. You don't want it, you know, getting loose and twisting around or falling off or anything like that. So make sure it is pretty tight on there, and you're using all of the washers. I forgot one there. So here are the resistors that I was missing. I know they look really big compared to the other ones, but they are the right ones as long as the color, the line color and the pattern is right, then it'll be fine. And so yeah, I just ordered these off of Amazon. I'll put links to these and then the missing IC socket 8-pin in the bio if you're also missing these. But yeah, don't be alarmed if, you know, the resistors that you get, if you're missing any, are like bigger than the others. Just make sure that the line pattern and colors are right, and it should say the patterns and colors on the catalog, but if it doesn't and it just says like the type of resistor, you can just look it up and be like, you know, Google what is the line pattern for this type of resistor. So right now I'm just putting in, and it'll just tell you. So right now I'm just putting in my input and output jacks. So my output has the 3 little prongs and it is on the left. My input has the 2 little prongs and it is on the right. And so now I'm just going to measure out all of my wires. This next wiring step is going to get pretty fast and confusing, so I get it if it's hard for me to follow along when it's going this fast and all this. So go to the diagram that I have in the bio. It says all of the wire lengths that you need, and then it has a photo of all of the wiring and stuff. So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, try to like quickly follow along with this video if you're making it. Go to the diagram in the bio and take a look there. It'll be so much easier, trust me. And then I also put my power input in there. My dad did. So it'll also show you, like, you know, all of where the wires connect to all the little components and stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna, like, you know, tell you a little bit about the pedal right now while I'm doing all the wiring here. So for this pedal, it's pretty like grungy and stuff. It's super cool. It's really distorted. And for this pedal, it has a power input and a battery. So you can use either one. So, you know, if you're just using this pedal, if you have like a pedal board and you're using it with your other pedals and you already have a power input going, you can use that. It's best to use a power input. But if you're going to say like an open mic night or something and you don't want to bring like a whole power source and all of that, you can just use the battery. You can just bring your pedal and your cables, and then just use the battery for it. But okay, this is really interesting. Open mic nights are different everywhere. So like in Ohio, open mic nights are like open jam nights. So you go and you jam with like, you know, 7 other people or something. But in California, it's so different. And in other places too, like in California, Alabama, all these different places, it's like you go and, like in Ohio and Kentucky, it's jamming. But in California and Alabama, it's you go and you play your own stuff. And like jamming is great, right? But I feel like sometimes you kind of want to play your own stuff or like play covers and stuff. But I just say it in the comments if like where you live, if you've ever been to an open mic night, if where you live like does like a open jam night or like an open mic night where you play like covers or songs or something. I just think it's really interesting because like I don't know, like in the West and the South, it's, you know, one thing, and then in the Midwest, it's like this completely different thing. So yeah, just like say that in the comments. I just want to see like, you know, where different places, you know, they do what they do for open mic nights, because it's like called the same thing, but you know, it's completely different. So back to the wiring. So we were just doing the finishing up the wiring here, and then I'm just going to take my pedal and put the circuit board and then the little metal what are those called? Just like little the little wire pointy things on the potentiometers. I can't believe I forgot what they're called. Those are going to go into the 3 holes, 9 holes in total, 3 holes on the circuit board, and then you're just going to solder them onto the circuit board. So here I'm going to, connect all of my wiring. Again, look at the diagram in the bio. It's going to be so helpful, trust me. So a few tips here too while I'm doing this. You do not want any exposed wires touching. So if you finish your pedal and you turn it on and you're like, oh, maybe my LED is turning on, but the rest of my pedal isn't working, power isn't running through it or something, the first thing you should do is check that your inputs and outputs are your cords are, in the right spots. And then the second thing you should check, if they are, is your wiring, to make sure that either your exposed wires aren't touching, or, your solder didn't escape one of those circles, or your solder isn't touching or something, because all of those things will short circuit the pedal, and it just will, kind of like overrun it, and it won't work. So this is super important. Your solder and your exposed wires cannot be touching. It's okay if the rubber coating on the wires isn't touching, that's fine. But if it's touching, that's completely fine. But if your exposed wires is touching, very, very important that they are not. It's an easy fix though. You just take them away from each other a little bit and make sure that they aren't touching. And then for solder, if solder is touching together, then you can just use your soldering iron and kind of run it through the middle where the solder is touching, and then it'll just kind of melt the solder and collect it onto the soldering iron, and then you just wipe it off. But yeah, so that's just some troubleshooting if that happens. So here we have most of our wires, almost all of our wires soldered in. Here we have our LED, so this is just going to, connect to your circuit board and, the other components and stuff. And it was supposed to have this little thing on it. I think it's called a benzo or something, but it has a little case that it goes into kind of, and it's supposed to, screw in on the inside and then kind of sit on top of the pedal on the outside, so the LED stays, on the outside so you can see it. But it didn't fit into the hole for me. If it does for you, great, follow, do that, follow the diagram. But if it doesn't, I just left it kind of floating. You can just see the glow from the inside of the pedal through that hole. So here I have the battery. I connected my 9-volt battery to the battery connector, and the wires were the exposed wires on the battery connector were kind of, short, so I just, stripped a little bit more of it. So yeah. We're almost done with our pedal. We're so close. And then I'm just going to solder these in, and then we'll screw the back on and everything. Then we'll be done. One reason that I love building pedals too is I really like soldering. I think it's so fun, but just be very careful because solders can get so hot. I have been burned by a solder before. It is not fun. So just try not to burn yourself or your house down. Some soldering tips. The battery should fit kind of snugly in there too. So yeah, next I'm going to put on my adjustment knobs. So I'm going to turn all my potentiometers down to their lowest setting. You can kind of see my LED poking through that little hole there. It's fine. And then you're just going to use the little screw on the side of the adjustment knobs you're just going to tighten that, and it's just going to, apply some tension onto the potentiometers, and so, it's going to hold it onto the potentiometers. Excuse me. So yeah, you just want to make sure that at your lowest setting, all of the lines are, pointed in the same direction, so that, they're all even and equal, and where your baseline is from, if you want to go higher or lower or anything. So here, I'm just going to screw on the back. It comes with the back, and it comes with the screws and everything. And then, yeah, I just wrote my name on it, just for fun, why not, right? And you're just going to use your small Phillips head to tighten these, and then you are done with your pedal. So now we're going to turn the pedal on and take a look and see what it sounds like. So there it's on, but we have all of our dials down, so it's not going to, make any sound yet. So here we have our volume. And I was curious about the difference between volume and loudness, just because it doesn't, I don't know, it's kind of saying the same thing, so I'm going to turn my volume down. I think loudness might be similar to gain or something, maybe. So let's see. So I think loudness might be kind of similar to gain. So they're pretty high. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found this video interesting, and if you're building this guitar pedal, I hope you found it helpful. Again, I have links to the tools, the components, the circuit board, and the pedal kit all in the bio, as well as some diagrams to help you build this pedal. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope that you get the stuff to build this pedal because it's super fun. And yeah, it's really interesting, and you know what I'm gonna say. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Yeah, keep shredding.